So the format here, we have 5 of the 6 candidates for the school board president. Unfortunately, Kate Mead had to go to a family wedding, so she is not here. She said, did she submit a statement? Are we aware? We are unaware of any statement. So I could speak for Kate Mead, but I will resist. The format, there will be 1-minute introductions, then there will be a series of questions in which they get 1.5 minutes each of you to answer. We will rotate who goes first, and then a 1-minute closing statement. They all have red cards. If they want to speak for an additional minute, they can use their red card twice, or use different red cards once apiece. And that's the format. Are there any questions from the panel? Well, since there are none, we will start with the opening statements and Betsy Carlin.
That's great. Good evening. Thank you for coming out and being interested in the Teton County School District. I am Betsy Carlin, and I am running for my 3rd term on the as a Teton County School District trustee. About 10 years ago, I had some women that I know come up to me and ask if I would run for school board. And at the time, I was doing a couple of other things, and I was like, I don't think so. And then it sort of festered there for another 2 years, and I said, yes, I will. And it has been a tremendous experience. I've spent my entire adult professional life both being paid and volunteering as an advocate for children and families and the people who care and teach them. And being part of the school district and the school board has a steep learning curve, and I love what I'm doing. I'd like to continue. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Scarlett. I also am running for my 2nd or 3rd term. I have sat next to Betsy Carlin most of the last 8 years, and I appreciate that. I am a Jackson Hole High School graduate. I have 2 children currently enrolled in the high school. When I started this, they were elementary students at the dual immersion elementary, and I am wanting to serve 1 more term. I don't feel that we have quite accomplished some personal goals, and that's fixing the capacity issues at our high school. It is hung up in a very difficult bureaucratic nightmare, and we need to move forward on that. I want to finish my work there. I also want to work with the legislature to make some appropriate changes to the funding model and make sure our teachers finally get paid a wage. All of our educational professionals are able to get paid a wage so they can afford to work in our district and live in our community. Thank you.
Wow, how do I follow those? My name is Amy Genova, and I am new to the running. I was actually told today that I'm the mystery candidate that nobody knows of, so yay! So first off, I'm a woman of faith. I'm a rancher's wife, and I'm a mother. My husband, who's sitting in the back somewhere, and I are actually celebrating our wedding anniversary today, but together we are raising our 3 kids, two of whom have graduated from high school, and our 3rd is in middle school, and we hope that he too can be a Jackson Hole graduate. And I'm running because I want all students, including my little Abraham, to be given the best opportunities to succeed. I want to sit at the table where decisions about our children are being discussed and made.
Thank you, Amy. I'm Bill McPeak, and I'm also one of the new people. All right, here's a lot of stuff, so hang on in. I went to college on the GI Bill and graduated in 1973 as a math secondary education major. I retired in 2003 from an urban suburban school district right outside of Philadelphia. It was classified as such because the demographics were pretty much the same as in the city. So I'm used to dealing with students from various cultures. I've had over 30 years experience to this point teaching and coaching 6 different sports. When we retired, or when I retired, we went home to Teton Valley in 2003 And when the grandkids started coming along in 2010, not driving the pass gang, so we moved over to Jackson. I continued, at that point, I continued my involvement with families, with youth and parents. I taught an after-school program at Culture when it was still going in military history and chess. I helped coach the 7th and 8th grade football team. I currently teach also at church, religious education classes. I'm sorry.
You can use your red card.
I'll use my red card. You know, I timed this in at 1 minute and 8 seconds. I can't believe it went that fast. As far as that goes. Okay, I help coach 7th and 8th grade football, and for the past 7 years, I've been a coordinator and coach of the Parks and Rec girls basket softball team, which, thanks to Roy Mann and a bunch of great parents, we will have a high school team next spring, as far as that goes. That's about it. I want to thank my wife, she's not here, for giving me the permission to do this. All right, and also, I'm running for school board because I am and will continue to be a strong advocate for teachers, students, and parents. Thank you.
Okay, ready? Go. No. My name is Jerry Bosch. First of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters for doing this. See, Andy, that's how it's done. We thank them. There's no way I can give you a minute synopsis on me, and I'm not very good at this part of this. I am more of a debater and talking about ideas. The little bit I can tell you is the most important thing is I'm a father of 3 wonderful daughters that are all in the district. I've been a coach for 15 years. I've been a law professor. I have a degree in economics. I have a degree in business. I have a law degree. I have a master's degree. And none of that means anything for this position if you ask me. What matters is being able to talk to people and listen to people and have truthful conversations about the problems and the issues that we have. That's it. Thank you.
Good job, Joe. So before we go to the first media question, I forgot to mention 2 things. One, Dee Buckstaff will be the timer, and she will let you guys know when you have used up your time. And we also have Sandy Shuptrine. If you have questions you would like them to answer, Sandy's got cards you can fill out. Please do that. It enhances the forum. And she's right there and she's handing them out. I also did not introduce the media. So we have Jasmine Hall from the Jackson Hole News and Guide, and Dante Ankeny from Cable. And Dante, I'm going to let you ask the first question. And it will, Bill Scarlett, yes, you have anticipated that you will be the first one to answer.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, Dante Ankeny, occasional Jackson Hole Community Radio. Bill, first question. What role do you usually play on a team?
Thanks for the question. My role, when I first ran, I was the only person with banking finance experience. So my role on this team has historically been one as the budget and audit leader. I formed the finance committee, which didn't exist when I joined. We replaced the auditor. We worked really hard with a brand new business manager to create systems and processes that I think have really been beneficial to the taxpayers with transparency of the finances of the committee, of the district. I've also served as the vice chair and the chair, leveraging my experience in the business and banking world to provide input from a different direction. And I'm just one member of a team that we rely on everybody's diverse opinions to arrive at the best decision for our kids. And it's been a real pleasure to do that and work with this diverse group of trustees.
Yes, Amy, it's you.
Do I get the same question?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this on? Yeah.
And if you need to, you can ask them to repeat.
Oh, I think I wrote it down here, so I think
Okay.
I'm good. Not ever being on the school board, so as what role I play on the team, I'm gonna just use in general. It just depends on the team that you're on, right? You're always a team player for whatever situation. That being said, I do sit on a few other boards, and this year I'm actually fortunate that I'm the vice chair for our Teton County Fair Board, and puts me kind of in like the leadership role. I do see a parent here of a couple of groups that I coordinate as well. So I guess kind of to sum it up, it just depends on the team, right? Being a team player and being put wherever is needed. Obviously, leaning on the experience and expertise of the existing school board members to kind of guide and educate us. So.
Well, to me, it's pretty obvious. If you're on a team, you're a team player. You support the other members of the team, and if you have a disagreement with them, you sit down and you try to iron it out as agreeably and as amicably as possible. As a head coach, the approach I always took was to listen to my assistants. You know something that I don't, you think you can do something better than I can, I want to hear it. If I agree with you, I'm going to go what you want and say, okay, I was wrong, you were right, and we'll take it that way. As an assistant coach, I kind of operated the same way. All right, if I had a question in terms of what the head coach was doing, I'd approach the head coach. I wouldn't tell that head coach, you should do it this way. Cooperation and communication are the key.
So I'm going to approach this a couple different ways, and Bill and I actually coached together. So I can attest to his statement right there, he was. As a player, there are numerous types of leaders that can evolve during whatever you're doing, or in an organization like a school board. So as a player myself in high school and college on various teams, I was the guy that tried to lead by example. Like, I always tried to give it everything I had. I wasn't vocal, I wasn't that talkative, which is bizarre because now I'm a lawyer, and do this. So I try to still lead that way. On the school board, or let me start as a coach, I agree with Bill, and that is that we try to find a way to motivate the team, but let them be themselves. This past year, I got an opportunity to coach the C-team girls basketball team. They decided that they wanted to do the hokey pokey before a game. Now, let me be very clear. If I would have done that as captain of my football team, I would have been killed. But you know what? It wasn't about me. It was about them. And that's what they wanted to do, and that's what they needed. And they ended up winning games because they were relaxed and they were having fun. As a board member, if you elect me, I was a solicitor for 6 years for a school district back east 30 years ago. I come with a background in economics and business. I'd love to jump into financials like Bill did, but I also bring a litigator's cross-examination skills once in a while to get to the bottom of things. Thank you.
Well, I have taken a Gallup Strength Finder, and so it was interesting to take after I had held leadership positions for, 15 or 20 years. And I know, number one, I'm a connector. And so I'm a connector on the board, I'm a connector to the community, I'm a connector to the staff, and that is really where my strength is. I am also a collector of information, and so I like to really understand all sides of a situation. That became really useful during the COVID pandemic when I was the chairman of the board. And I would take time to understand all the perspectives, because there were a lot of perspectives during that time of unknownness. And then try to gather and think about what the most constituents want, what would be best for the school district. And so I feel like that gatherer of information really comes in handy. And I'm also responsible almost to a fault. I attend meetings, I read my board packet, I take the other responsibilities that you have as a school board member seriously, and those are what I bring to a team. So, thank you.
Great, so Jasmine, you get the next question. Amy, you already anticipated, you will answer first.
All right, guys. Well, if you did our voter guide, which comes out October 16th, then you've answered this question, but I'd love you to expand a little bit more. How would you define the job of a school board trustee?
I do remember this question. I'm trying to think back. I actually should have asked you guys if you could have sent those back to me. I think in my current situation, it's a little bit difficult to understand, right? Like, I did get the packet that Gillian sent us as far as our rules and regulations that are expected of us. It's a lot of information. I believe that as a school board trustee, if you're elected, that first year is going to be a year of learning, right? I don't think that any of the three of us new ones here fully understand the budgeting, the way that the current board runs, what's being explained to them, all the information. It's a lot of info that was sent to me. So I think the role of a trustee, obviously sitting back, listening, observing, learning, really getting your bearings down, and then from there is when, within the year or two, is when you understand things a little bit better, is when your true work is going to come to play, I believe.
Thank you, ma'am. As a school board trustee, your primary responsibility is to support the policies of the administration as long as you believe that they're in conjunction with the interests of the parents, students, and community. If you do not believe that they're in conjunction with the needs of the parents, schools, and community, it's your responsibility to question and ask why. And that comes down to, are you communicating properly with the parents and students and the teachers? Okay, I mean, that's what we're there for. We're there to support the administration, to see that the policies are carried out. Now, if there's a disagreement between what the parents and the community want and the school board, and the school board decides this is best, then I think it's incumbent upon the school board trustees to explain to the people why. You need communication. You need to be able to talk. If I wind up on the school board, it says, I guess, in the school board policy that the basic line of communication is to the superintendent, which I believe. And you've got to trust that the superintendent is going to act properly. The superintendent also has to trust you. If we have somebody that does not believe that they're getting the right results from the superintendent, then I'm going to allow them the possibility to contact them outside the channels and find out why. And if I think it should be forwarded to the superintendent, I will. If not, then we'll have to have a discussion about it. Thank you.
So the simple answer to this is board members are to set the vision and the policy, to work with the superintendent, hire and potentially fire them, and to deal with the budget. Now, Wyoming statute sets out like 28 things that we're supposed to do as board members. I could go all through those and all of you would fall asleep and hate me, so let's not do that. But I'm going to approach this different because I'm a big believer in that the school board is the leaders and sets the tone of how the district is run and how we are perceived outside, not just our district, within the district, but outside the district and throughout the rest of the state. We lead by example. I've already talked about this. But we have to lead by being truthful and honest with each other and have hard conversations from time to time. And right now, I see too much blame being given and credit being taken. I don't lead that way. It stops with the board. Even if it doesn't, it stops with us. So if there's a problem or issue, there's no blame to be placed anywhere else but with us. And then let's roll up our sleeves and figure out what to do and get it fixed. And then let's give credit. I saw the board last night give credit to students at the board meeting. It was the greatest thing in the world. Now, only one of them was there, unfortunately. It was a sportsmanship award. What a great thing to do, to honor them for being and reflecting, hopefully, the principles we have. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I was on a roll.
I was sitting up here reflecting when Amy was talking, and I remember 8 years ago, you come to these things, you fill out the stuff, and you think you know what the role is. And then, then the learning starts. And it really is an interesting process. And so, as Jerry mentioned, the three main roles of the board is to hire and employ the superintendent, to oversee the budget, and to write and have the policies for the district. So really, we set policy and we provide resources so great things can happen within the district. With that said, there are other things that happen. I think 8 years ago when I came on the board, there was a lot of discontent within the district's staff. I can't say it's 100% great now, but we've worked really hard on communicating and having the superintendent do more communicating. She's created committees to hear from the staff. So those are all, and it's just, there are emails and newsletters, and I believe that it's better than it was 8 years ago. And that's because we as a board saw that that we were hearing there was a problem, and we found ways to deal with it. Thank you.
Not to sound like a broken record, there are the big three, policies, fiduciary responsibility, and our involvement with the superintendent. One of the big roles that hasn't been mentioned is the importance of acting in a role of advice and consent with the superintendent. There are issues that pop up on a regular basis that the superintendent relies on each and every one of her trustees with their different expertise to give her sound advice on how to handle situations. I was sitting here 8 years ago, and then 4 years ago on Zoom, and one of the things, the biggest lessons I took from when I was first campaigning to being elected is the difference between the rhetoric of a campaign and the reality of governance. And so while we talk all these grandiose things, when the rubber hits the road and you get into a governance situation, if you fall beyond those three areas, the policy, the fiduciary, or the role of the superintendent, our board has always had struggles. But if we stay within our statutory requirements, we have great success. And we do set a tone of kindness and love at the school board level. And you saw that with awards coming to our student athletes, to our student scholars, and that is happening more and more often in our district. I'm very proud of them. Thank you.
Great. We're all done with that one. Dante, you're next. You guys manage the questions being handed. I'm just going to keep going back and forth.
Hey, Bill. Housing has played a critical role in the district's ability to hire.
Could you go a little bit slower and a little louder, please?
Yeah, definitely. Housing has played a critical role in the district's ability to hire qualified and passionate staff. Whose responsibility is it to provide teachers and staff with housing in the community?
Before I get into the question, I want to encourage everybody. This is homecoming week. We have a football game tomorrow night against Evanston. It's a critical football game. And please attend. It begins at 6 o'clock. I will be there as usual. Okay. I think in terms of trying to provide housing for the teacher, I think that's one of the three critical things. And I'm not going to get to all this in 90 seconds. It's not going to happen. We want to attract qualified staff, obviously. Okay. We want to keep qualified staff. So the key is to not only look at housing and not only look at salaries, but are there other reasons why they are not staying? I mean, that's one of the things that I want to try and examine. Well, I may try to examine it even if I'm not elected. Right? In terms of getting financing, I think it's critical. I think we need to lobby to the state to make sure we get the funds to try and find housing for the teachers. Did I miss the first part of that question?
No, you did.
All right, thank you very much.
So retention of teachers is an issue. I asked some time time ago a question to the administration in that how many teachers have left? I didn't get a response. It seems that we should know these numbers. It seems we should also be doing interviews with each teacher to find out why are they leaving? Because other places that are employing people have this exact same issue, right? The hospital, the ski resort, this issue is in our valley. But I've been knocking on doors. I've knocked on over 2,000 doors and talked to people and talked to teachers. And we all know that it is hard to make it here. But they also express issues that do not relate to that. And so we need to spend, I think, more time, and I plan on giving a voice on the board to those teachers. I plan on finding out what those issues are and doing it in a way that there should not be any fear of retaliation or retribution so that we can get down to the actual issue. We can debate all these things, but until we have the facts set out as to why the teachers, or just the number of teachers that have left, maybe some of the people that have been here longer will know that, but I couldn't get those numbers. The state gave me some numbers, but they didn't seem to make sense because there was only 70 teachers over the last 6 years. That doesn't seem to fit with what I know just anecdotally. So I think we need to spend more time finding out the exact issue and the problem.
As we all know, housing is an issue in our community. And it has been, and it's getting worse. And our community is really special. But it's only going to remain special if we keep teachers and nurses and mechanics and all the other jobs that you need to have a community in the community. You know, the school district cannot be responsible for housing all the teachers, but I think setting a priority to find housing and include it in our vision is important. We had Christine Walker come in a couple of years ago and do a big housing study for us to determine what might work for the school district. We have land in several different places. And we're going to start with 24 apartments that are going to be on over by the middle school. We've purchased a couple of houses when they've come available for teachers or for administration. And it is something that we constantly keep in the front of our minds so that we can maintain and retain the amazing staff that we have.
First of all, I want to thank the community for supporting our SPED issue a year ago. We're in the ground building those 24 housing units that will house educational professionals, hopefully by the spring of 26. So thank you for that. We also, as a board, over the late 8 years, we've converted those former temporary classroom buildings, also AKA the trailers or the cabins at Jackson Elementary, and we built those into several housing units. I believe there's 8 or 10 apartments there that are very popular in housing teachers. Housing has continually been the main reason that our educational professionals have to leave us, but also have to leave the valley. They just cannot afford to live here. And that's why I want to really work with the legislature at changing the financial model to better recognize the true cost of living in Jackson. The Wyoming Cost of Living Index shows that our housing expense is at 240% of the state average, where we're only allowed to recognize 174%. So there's 50% of our problem is right in that housing number. And so hopefully the legislature will recognize that next year in the recalibration process of the model. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously, I work for the town of Jackson, so the housing within our organization is difficult. Like it's well known within our community that everyone is struggling with housing. And I actually was able to gather some information from from Gillian that I just wrote down here, and she indicated that per the employee separation, when they do their exit interviews, the majority of the time, the teachers are leaving the positions because, and the area due to the high cost of living. This is no secret, right? I think that I'm a strong believer that it is quality over quantity, right? We need to make sure, we need to help ensure and find these homes that Bill and Betsy are indicating with the North-South Park Loop, hopefully. We want to make sure we're giving our teachers a home to live in. We can't expect teachers to come with their families and live in dorm styles. We're not going to keep them around. If they're happy, if we can ensure a quality home for them, hopefully they'll stay with the district, which is what we need. These teachers are the ones that are educating our children, right? They're the ones at the forefront of what my kid is the success of my kids. Did I answer the question? In part, it's like it's a county issue it's happening, right? I think the county is doing a great job. The city council is doing a great job. I think the school board also is trying to do the best that they can for their employees.
Great, thank you. Jasmine, next question, and Jerry will be the first respondent.
Yeah, Jerry. Well, so I'm the state government reporter, and I have been in countless meetings in Cheyenne and both virtually, where legislators have been talking about K-12 mental health care and how important that is. In some of their most recent meetings, the state superintendent and a chairman came forward and said that they're looking for solutions and they think that they have one, and it's largely taking the stance that mental health care students and families are outside of the scope of what a school district should provide. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
So that's a great question. First of all, let me start this way. I think there's certain levels to this, but I disagree generally, I would tell you. And why is I think that there are certain mental health issues that would come up that would be more of an issue that would need to be dealt with by a family, would need to be dealt with by professionals, that type of thing. But what we don't have, and where I disagree with this is there are mental health issues that come up that can be dealt with in the school. And more importantly, we have counselors, and without going into details, my daughter, one of my daughters went out and we were brought in and we had a conversation and we worked on a plan and it was perfect. I think that those programs could even be expanded. I think having a more of a licensed, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but a licensed professional that comes in once in a while to deal with this. And you want to talk about school safety, at the senior center this came up and I was talking to somebody and they wanted to arm our teachers and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to agree with that. I'm just not going to go there. But we started talking about mental health. And having conversations about these subjects with our kids, with trained professionals, is the first way to start to identify kids that might be hurting, kids that might need to say something.
That is a great question. And I would say both and. I think that teachers and staff in the schools are often the adults they are the adults that the students trust. And they are the ones that see a student day in and day out. So that if you see a change in what's going on, you need to address it. And there needs to be staff within the district that they can turn to and help to support that student. When appropriate, it needs to have the family included. But what do you do when there's trauma in the home and it's because of the family? And so there needs to be some way to support those kids in the district. We choose to pay for more nurses and mental health staff within the district because we think it's really important. but we are not funded for that. And we are not funded for mental health programming. So we have to rely on the other organizations within our community. And that's what's so special about Teton County is we have these amazing cooperative groups that support each other and support families and support students and support teachers. And so it takes everybody.
I would hope that the legislature would look at us and listen to us. I'm not sure the new legislature will listen to us. That's why we have Andy speaking a big voice for us down there. We need better funding in this area, definitely. It's not a time to cut. We are pulling from general fund dollars to support more nurses and mental health professionals in our district. And we're doing the best we can. What I really, to reiterate what Trustee Carlin said, is having these community partners reach out with programs is so important to the well-being of our students. And we are so lucky to live in a great community like this one. Thank you.
I agree and I disagree to a certain point. I believe that home plays a big part, right? The way that I choose to raise my children and our values. I'm going to be the key person. I think that being said, there is a partnership between your home and your schools. I do believe that our staff, they are the ones that can identify when your child might need additional help. You know, and it saddens me to know the truth that there is no funding for mental health. Our community, again, like we struggle just because of the unique diversity that we live in. So yeah, I agree that part of the responsibility lies at home, helping our children, right? But I also agree that part of it falls within the school, and that's why I think it's super important that there is a strong relationship between your home life and your school life.
I didn't hear too much from what everybody that I did not agree with. We need more mental health care, not only for kids, but for veterans, but for, you know, it's something that I could go on about, I don't know for how long, and I'm gonna keep it short. The lockdown devastated our granddaughter when she was in 5th grade. We had to go outside for private care, not because of school. Of course, she wasn't going to school, but it doesn't make any difference. But I would have to compliment the teachers after she got herself squared away, which took months. The teachers were great in understanding what she went through. Absolutely amazing. There was no problem, there was no combat. The parents were in communication with the teachers all the time. Grandparents were too, but of course you know grandparents are in support. We're the second line of defense, okay? If things aren't working. So it's just kind of like, again, we were very, very, very fortunate that we were able to get the care that we were. Every kid doesn't have that. It's a shame every kid doesn't have that. And we were very grateful to the teachers she had that guided her through the next year or so.
Yeah, it goes down to Betsy. She will be answering first. Dante, answer your question.
Hi, Betsy. Statewide assessment scores for K through 12 students were released by the Wyoming Department of Education on Wednesday. And scores still remain lower than pre-pandemic levels. What do you believe needs to be done in Teton County to address this issue?
So we had a big report last night. And it went over, and many of the scores were embargoed until technically this morning. And there was in fact a letter from the state superintendent to the districts apologizing for sending it out a day early. So we had a report yesterday. It was based on some other things. And the scores, particularly in the elementary and middle school, are going up gradually. There was a And our scores, they showed some scores that nationally, our scores are higher than, not the state scores, and our scores are higher than comparable tests nationally. Part of that is because really, we did have a lockdown for the spring, but Wyoming was in school starting in September of 2020. And so we're way better off than a lot of people. That's not saying I'm not addressing the district. Some of this came out last night in the meeting. We had a letter from, a response from the superintendent this morning with her plan to address what was seen and what was discussed, and we will attack it moving forward. You know, we've had some great successes. Munger Mountain is meeting all their standards. That's impressive. Who knew that was going to happen 3 years ago? So anyway, I'll pass it to Bill. He can finish.
Yes, look, let's start with Munger Mountain Elementary School. They hit proficiency for the first time since the opening of that. That was leadership and hard work in our most, our most at-risk population, elementary school. So a lot of cheers and celebrations need to go at that. And Wyoming and Teton County ought to also be patting themselves on the back because they are exceeding the national recovery from COVID. All of the schools across the state are doing much better. And I'm very proud of what we have done because living through COVID as a board member and also living through it with children was nothing less, well, it was hell, let's be honest. And so, going forward, as a board member, the same way that I have for 8 years is I demand these teachers, head administrators to push and to figure out what's working and what's not and make changes. I think we've seen 2 or 3 years ago at the middle school, math was an issue. And we challenged them. And they figured out a way to tie the curriculum from K through 5 into middle school. And now we're on a good path there and a good trajectory. As far as 9th and 10th graders go, they need to learn that this is a serious deal. And because this doesn't get you into college, and because you don't get a grade, it doesn't give you a pass not to do well on it. So.
Okay, I might have to ask you to repeat the question if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Statewide assessment scores for K through 12 students were released by the Wyoming Department of Education on Wednesday, and scores still remain lower than pre-pandemic levels. What do you believe needs to be done in Teton County to address this issue?
Okay. I think just on a personal level, I had a freshman coming into the pandemic, right? So his freshman year was literally ruined for him. He wasn't given the opportunity to adjust and learn what a typical freshman does. So coming into our sophomore year, awful. That being said, I do think that, and I think if I recall correctly, that pandemic year, there was a pass and fail grade, or pass and fail year, probably didn't do very well for us statewide as far as our testing. I think this is where we would have to trust and listen to our teachers, right? They know best. They're the ones that are educating our students. They're the ones that are putting their curricular programs together for us to approve or to look over, to oversee and look. I think trusting them, knowing that they have the best interests of our children at heart. Because at the end of the day, our common goal is to ensure that our kids are getting educated. I still believe one of the main reasons that my husband and I choose to stay in this county is because of our schools, right? Even though our numbers are still showing lower, we're doing really well compared to the nation. Like, I still think our district is a blue ribbon school. We are doing amazing. Can we improve? Yes. Did COVID affect us? Yes. Are we getting over it? I believe so. So yeah, I think just this is really where we would listen and trust our teachers. They're the educators. They're the ones that are dealing with our kids. They're the ones that are educating them and making sure that they're on the path for success.
Because of the hearing problem in the school board room, which is something I'll address later, I usually watch online. I was at 4 meetings last year, that's why I said I have a hearing problem. So I was going to watch this. I had a commitment last night, could not watch it online. And I went online today, the video wasn't up. So but the only answer I will give now until I get a chance to analyze everything that happened last night, it's pretty obvious. You find out why and you correct the problem. I mean, it's extremely simple. So after I see the data, look at it, I'm going to punt over to Jerry because I know he was at the board meeting last night.
Put all the pressure on me, Bill, thanks.
So why not? Use it.
Yeah, so famous coach once said, average players want to be left alone, good players want to be coached, great players want the truth. So let's spend just a little time. If we look at the scores, the biggest problem is the decrease in the scores that we've had. That's the issue. It's not that we're staying the same, it's that we're going down. And also, I believe that we have, and let me be clear, I love this district. I coached for free, I've done everything, I love everything about it. But we need to have an honest conversation. Our ranking in ELA proficiency is 7th. It's 12th in math. It's 14 in science among all of the other schools. Not small schools. Our graduation rate is 2nd. That's awesome. But the problem is if you look at the numbers statistically, the kids that go on to college in 6 years, the ones that actually graduate is 15% below the national average. I'm already telling you I'm using my red card, okay? So when we look at this and we actually examine these things, this is where we have to have an honest conversation and say, what is the problem? So TCA did a survey and asked the teachers 2 years ago. I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I was told, get more help in the classroom, especially classes in the middle school, in the high school where we don't have dual immersion. Get the help there, because that's where our Y-top scores are going down. Now, we can talk about the kids don't take it seriously, fine. I don't know, Lincoln County, their grades don't drop off like ours do. Now, they do drop off, but they don't do like ours do. I looked them up. The Wyoming Department of Education has all these figures. I try to base decisions based on facts. Let's look at it and identify the problems first, then come up with a decision on what we need to do. But I agree with Bill. Let's listen to the people that are in the classroom about what they need so we can do better. Because we can do better. There's no doubt in my mind we can do better. None. But we have to have an honest conversation. I've had players come to me, why ain't I starting? Well, you want the truth? The truth is, during practice, you ain't giving it, you're not paying attention. You're the best player on the team. Well, when I look at these scores, we can tout that we're great, but the only thing we lead the state in is median household income, which I think we all do. Can we get better? Yes. And we need to. And that's why I'm running.
Great, okay, that was actually a very interesting round. Jasmine, you're up, maybe you can surpass that, and Mr. Scarlett, you will go first.
Yeah, as the community and the school district look to solve overcapacity issues, what do you see as the root of the problem and the solution?
Well, I don't think it's a problem. But the root cause is we are building residences like crazy in this community. I've lived here for 40 years. I've never seen a residential boom like that's going on right now. And these things have impacts. And every new house, there is a rule of thumb, there's X number of kids coming out of that house. And so, we have to, I'm not gonna opine on the growth, but school districts have to adapt to this. And the biggest problem we've got is that the way the system currently works, with the state required by the courts, by our Constitution, to fund adequate facilities, they do it looking in a rearview mirror. And that's what bothers me most, is that we have to wait until the 2,000 houses in North and South Park are complete before they'll even talk to us about building a new elementary school or a new high school. And so we have to continue to work to make that change at the legislative level, and that's a difficult task to happen.
Yeah, obviously, I agree. It is a problem to say that our schools are busting at the seams, right? We have too many students per teacher capacity in their classrooms. What is the solution? Unfortunately, I have read into this a little bit, and it is what Bill was saying. It's hard. There's 48 districts in this state that we all play in the same pool of money. I believe that the school board voted to, just a few months ago, to maybe, we weren't being heard at a certain level. They did some actions that maybe will put the ball in our court to look for these things. It's hard to say where I'm not 100% on elected yet, to see all of the numbers and know the back stories behind everything, what they've done and what their current plan is. Is it a problem? Yes, we know this. It's difficult. How do we fix it? Being a team, working together.
Jasmine, repeat the question, please.
Yeah, first, as the community and the school district, I apologize. As the community and the school district look to solve overcapacity issues in the schools, what do you see as the root of the problem and also the solution?
Well, I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit too simplistic. You don't have a classroom size. So where do we get more classroom size? We have to do more building. If we have to do more building, where do we get the money? All right? We go to the legislature, and it's up to not just the school board, not just the administration, it's up to the parents and the public to lobby for that money. All right? If we don't get the money, I mean, it's not going to like, your whole old expression, money doesn't grow on trees. The elections coming up are going to be pretty important. Are we going to have legislators in there that are going to support what we need for the school districts? I think it's really important. I think we have to lobby for it. I think we have to go for it hard. There's no doubt about it. I mean, as a teacher for so many years, I dealt with overcrowded classrooms. I know what a problem it becomes when you start having more than 16, 17, 18 students in a class. Okay, it's hard. You've got them at various levels. How do you concentrate on 25 students in trying to help the ones that have problems and yet not giving enough attention to the students that are at the other levels? It's a constant problem for educators. And the only way you solve that is by having smaller classes and more time to spend with individual students. So folks, all I can say is put pressure on, on your legislators. Get the money.
So I'm going to try and answer this, I think, two ways. First, the issue is that we have too many people. 28 years ago, I moved here, and they said there was no land left to develop. I don't know what happened in that 28 years, but there's some new land showed up somehow. So the question, though, is, and this is where figures and numbers matter, is that I know class size, at least at one elementary school, because we were provided this information because I was a parent, has fluctuated. So I don't know what the need is moving forward. I would hope that the current board or administration has looked at these numbers and has projected what need we're going to have. I don't believe in just building buildings to build them, but I want to, first of all, thank the public for approving the Achievement Center, because hopefully that doesn't just build facilities for certain things like sports and hopefully a shop and other things, but it also, we can repurpose those spaces in the high school to probably, at least hopefully, give us more space. But the first thing is we have to start to project based upon the numbers we already know, and then look at how are those figures going to increase with people moving here. We've got a lot of smart people. I gotta tell you, knocking on doors, I've learned more from people than I've been able to teach them or tell them. But we have to be able to look and say, okay, what's left to develop? How many more people can we literally get to? And I'm sorry, but this doesn't seem like this should be out of the realm of possibility. But what we should know is how many kids are in first grade right now? How many are in second? And then project from there.
So we have a capacity issue. We've had a capacity issue. We had a capacity issue at the elementary level, and we were able to build Munger Mountain Elementary School, and now we don't have that capacity issue. We had a capacity issue at the middle school, and we were able to build a few more classrooms and repurpose some spaces, and that is better. We currently have a capacity issue at the high school, and we can thank the community for voting for the SPET dollars for the Bronx Achievement Center, which will help. And that building, because it was community funds, will also serve purposes for the community. But what we need to do when we have that space is to repurpose things in the high school and add an addition so that we can relieve the capacity issue at the high school. And we've been jumping through hoops, and we jumped through a whole set of hoops. And the legislature and the committees down in Cheyenne wanted us to jump through some different and more hoops. Our local legislators, Senator Dockstetter and Senator Guru, have done great things by talking us up and lobbying for us down in Cheyenne. Our legislators are working hard for us. We just can't get the traction, but hopefully we're making progress. Thank you.
Oh, it's up to me now. We have run out of time for questions, so we will now get your closing statements, and Amy, you will go first.
Yeah, thank you guys all for coming out, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this together, for allowing us the opportunity to come and kind of introducing ourselves and letting you guys into why we're here, what we believe. I'm running. I want to ensure that all students are really, our end goal is to educate our students, right? I want the best opportunities for not just my kids, but all kids. This is the community that I'm choosing to be in. This is the community where I want to raise my children. I believe in transparency, accountability, and being honest. That's who I am, and that's who you're going to get if you elect me as your school board trustee. Thank you.
Folks, thanks for being here tonight. League of Women Voters, thank you for having us. It's been an extremely interesting experience. I may need to use this. So, item one, as Amy said earlier, parents are the first line of education. They are the ones primarily responsible for educating their children. When they turn that responsibility over to the school district, it is the school district's responsibility to educate the children so they can prepare them to go out in the world. That's our prime responsibility as teachers. You have a subject matter, work on it, be good at it, and stay on it. Okay? It's kind of interesting to look at it from actually two sides. As a father and a grandfather, how our children were educated, and also how I would do it on the other side. Around knocking on doors, that Jerry did. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Around knocking on doors, as Jerry did. God bless him. I haven't walked as much as he had yet, but we still have 4 weeks to go. And my wife is not here again. Thank you for going out with me. We're allowed to hit twice as many homes. I have found out from knocking on doors that less is sometimes best. Hi, I'm Bill McPeak. I'm running for school board. I would like your vote. Here's my card. If you have any questions now, I'd be glad to answer them. If not, feel free to contact me. Personal phone number and email. I'm going to do the same thing should I be elected. I am going to be accessible, and my prime consideration is going to be, are we doing what we need for the teachers to educate our children. I mean, that is it. I put my extra time in.
Yes.
All right, well, please extra 15 seconds. One of the school board members,
I
At the
no,
rest-
I can't
sorry,
wait
but
to
that's
do
not
that.
fair.
If you used up your red card,
used up my 2 red cards.
you did get the red card, yes?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Bill.
That's okay. If anybody wants to know what else I want to say, see me up.
So first of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters and everybody that's here. This is awesome. I have my phone number, my email. If you have questions afterwards, get hold of me. I think you can understand and feel the passion I have for doing this. Because what I see is I see that there have been issues and we have had problems, and I want to try to do the best I can and use my skill set to help out. I am factually based. We want to get to, and I will not take, an answer in an email that says this is tending this way or this is this. We have to get to the bottom of those things. We have to ask the people that are actually in the classrooms, or even the students about the new lunch program, ask them what they think, and then look at that. But let me be clear. It is the board's responsibility to find that information and review that information, not be filtered by somebody else. And I will not do that. I'm only going to do 15 seconds. That's extra. Thank you. So if you understand where I'm coming from, if you have questions, you call me. But I will not take answers that are not based on fact or information that we can actually look at, sink our teeth into, and make decisions that way. It doesn't work without it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And it has been my honor for the last 8 years to serve on the Teton County School Board. I came on green and I've learned a ton. And I feel like I have more to give. And we have some projects that are going that I'd like to see to fruition. I have a personal vision that all children and families receive the programs that they need to thrive in the world. And that includes schools or whatever other programs that is. And that's my North Star. And I just find that serving on the school board is a way to advocate for that vision. And I'm not going to be able to fill that whole vision myself, but I'd like to find what I can do to make that come true. I'll use my red card. So in closing, I really appreciate you all being here. I appreciate the work I'm doing. You are always welcome to contact me and find out more about what I'm thinking. And I kindly ask for your vote on November 5th or before, because I know a lot of people want to get voting behind them.
I do thank the League. It's great seeing the League of Women Voters every 2 years holding these forums, and it's been going on forever. And I channel my inner Helen Bueller every time I come into this room. I also want to thank Betsy, Jennifer Zung, who's here, who's going off of our board, and my great friend Reed Dornan for your support over the last 2 years and 8 years. That's been great. My name is Bill Scarlett. I have 2 kids in the school district. I have, like Betsy, I guide by, I believe every student needs to be prepared for an ever-changing world. And we are changing quick in this world. And I don't care what your background is. I don't care how you got to Jackson. If you're a kid, you deserve the best public education you can possibly get. And I am an advocate for those kids most importantly. So with that, I ask for your vote. Show up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. That's a good time down in the county office, and cast your vote. And I look forward to reporting back how we do over the coming months. Thank you.
Terrific. Well, thank all of the candidates. I think you've all done a wonderful job, the media as well. Before I go on with my closing comments, those of you who know me, sometimes I can't resist. A lot of references were made to Cheyenne and the legislature. It's something I know a bit about. This upcoming 2 years are going to be critical for education in Wyoming. The change in the House of Representatives is dramatic beyond belief. And 2025 is what we call a recalibration year, where we review the entire funding model for K-12 education. Pay attention. What happens in Cheyenne overrides anything any of these members of the school board will try to do. If there are problems there, I anticipate a lawsuit, but please pay attention and make your voices heard. I won't stop there. I could go on for a long time. I thank the media, the candidates, the League of Women Voters, the library, and most of all, Sam Pope, of course. He's a brilliant videographer. I don't know how you describe yourself. But mostly I want to thank you all for coming and being involved. And be sure to vote. I imagine you all will. You can go to the courthouse and vote now, or vote on Election Day, which is November 5th, I believe. And other than that, thank you all.